Hello friends, I am Dr. Deepak Garg. I am an orthopedic surgeon and today we will discuss about dorsal approach to wrist. So there are very specific indications for dorsal approach to wrist. We can use this approach for synovectomy. We can use it for repair of the extensor tendons in cases of rheumatoid arthritis, for wrist fusion, for excision of the lower end of the radius for benign and malignant tumors. We can use this for ORIF, distal and radius fracture, carpal fractures, dislocations, or we can use this approach for proximal row carpectomy. So we keep the patient in a supine position. We will keep the arm on the arm board and we will pronate the forearm, and then we can use a tourniquet in this approach. Then once we do the painting dripping, we will mark the surgical landmarks. We will mark the radius styloid, we will mark the ulnar styloid, and after that we will mark the skin incision. So we will just palpate the radial and the ulnar styloid. We will mark the midpoint and we will draw a vertical line in the midpoint, and this is a skin incision. We start approximately 3 centimeter below the wrist joint, and then we go approximately 8 centimeter incision that we will take. So this is a skin incision in our case. So once we take the skin incision, then we will have subcut. We will cut the subcut in line with the skin incision, and let's just first understand some basic anatomy. So if we talk about the vein, this is a basilic vein, this is an accessory cephalic vein, this is a cephalic vein, this is a antebrachial fascia, and this is the most common structure, which is an extensor retinaculum, which we should be aware about. So once we cut the subcut, then we have this anatomy. If we take a broader aspect to understand the anatomy of the dorsal aspect of the forearm, let's start from the proximal so that the understanding will be easy. So these muscles are coming from above the humeral condyles, and these are on the if we are looking at the extensor compartment, so these are the muscles of brachioradialis and extensor carpi radialis brevis, and this is the muscle coming from the common extensor origin, and this muscle is extensor carpi radialis brevis. Similarly, this is again a muscle from the common extensor origin, and this is a extensor digitorum. Similarly, this muscle is a extensor carpi ulnaris, and this is a anconeus muscle. So if we follow these muscles distally, we can see this extensor digitorum muscle coming distally is forming a very thick and broad tendon and is passing behind the extensor retinaculum. Similarly, if we look at this extensor carpi radialis brevis, and these two muscles, we can see these are coming from behind the extensor digitorum, and these are passing on the lateral aspect or on the radial aspect between the extensor carpi radialis brevis and extensor digitorum muscles, and these muscles are abductor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis. So when these muscles distally, they form the tendons, and when these tendons pass behind the extensor retinaculum, they pass in a particular manner and they pass through the various compartments. There are 6 compartments. So let's just understand the anatomy. So we can see that the nerve is passing above the extensor retinaculum, and this is a superficial radial nerve, and these tendons we have already seen: abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, and extensor digitorum, and this is the extensor retinaculum. Now we already know that these tendons, when the tendons will pass through the behind the extensor retinaculum, they will pass through the 6 compartments. So the compartment number 1 is on the radial side, and they like this, they have 6 compartment, and the sixth compartment is on the ulnar side. So these are the 6 compartments. The compartment number 1 contains tendons of the abductor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis. Compartment number 2 contains the tendons of extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor carpi radialis longus. Then there is a tubercle, which is shown by the arrow. So compartment number 3 is a extensor pollicis longus. So this arrow shows there is a elevation over the bone, which is called a tubercle, which is a Lister tubercle. So we need to palpate the Lister tubercle, and if we go radial to the Lister tubercle, it is compartment number 2, and if we go ulnar to the Lister tubercle, it is compartment number 3. Then the compartment number 4 contains tendons of extensor digitorum and extensor indicis. Compartment number 5 contains extensor digiti minimi, and the compartment number 6 contains extensor carpi ulnaris. So now there are when we take this approach, we need to identify the compartments so that we can identify the tendons. So there are multiple ways of identifying the compartment. So one is to palpate the Lister tubercle, and then radial to it will be the compartment number 2, that means the tendons of extensor carpi radialis brevis and longus, and ulnar to it will be the tendon of extensor pollicis longus, that means compartment number 3. Or in the middle of the forearm, this is the tendon which is the longest and thickest. This is a compartment number 4, and this is a tendon of extensor digitorum. It contains tendons of other than this. Then if we look at this tendon, we are coming on the radial side. we look that this tendon is going towards the thumb, so this is a tendon of extensor pollicis longus, so this is compartment number 3. Similarly, if you look at these two tendons, these are ending at the metacarpals, and these are the tendons of extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, that means compartment number 2. Similarly, this is a tendon of extensor pollicis brevis, abductor pollicis longus, so this is a compartment number 1. So if we go ulnar to the extensor digitorum, so this tendon we can see that this tendon is going to the little finger, so this is extensor digiti minimi, that is compartment number 5. And similarly, this is a tendon which is ending at the metacarpal level, so this is a tendon of extensor carpi ulnaris. So we need to identify, we need to remember the correct sequence of the compartments, and we need to identify the compartments if we are going through the posterior approach, because that is very crucial to prevent or to save these structures from injury. So once we take the skin incision, so we cut the deep fascia in line with the skin incision, then we identify the structures. So this is our skin incision, we cut the deep fascia, then we can have the fourth compartment in the middle, usually the fourth compartment will come. Then we try to identify the Lister tubercle, we palpate the Lister tubercle, and then we already know that medial to it is the third compartment and lateral to it is the second compartment. So we identify the compartment, and then we know that which muscles are passing through which compartment. So let's first understand the we want to do the synovectomy of the wrist. Then though the approach will be, then we will incise we identify the compartments, then we have to excise the extensor retinaculum to reach the wrist joint. So we excise the extensor retinaculum over the second compartment for synovectomy, and so this is we already know that this is the level of the second compartment. So at this level we will excise the extensor retinaculum, and then we will deroof the compartment number 3, 4, 5 on the ulnar side and compartment number 1 on the radial side. That means we will separate the extensor retinaculum on the medial and the lateral side, then we will deroof it. We will have all the compartments in front of us. So this is how we will have all the compartments in front of us. We already know which compartment and which muscle tendon is passing through which compartment. So then we will preserve the extensor retinaculum so that we can close it later, and we can suture the extensor retinaculum underneath the tendons also, that means the near the bone, so that we can prevent the bony adhesions later for the tendons. So this was about the synovectomy. Now if we want to fully expose the dorsal aspect of the wrist, so this is we have shown here that we have fully exposed the dorsal aspect of the wrist. Usually we do it for wrist arthrodesis, and in this we incise the extensor retinaculum over the fourth compartment, and then deroof both sides of the compartments, and then mobilize the tendons of the compartments to expose the radius and the capsule, and we incise the capsule to expose the distal radius and the carpus muscle. So we have fully exposed the dorsal aspect of the wrist joint, we have exposed the carpus, so we can do the open reduction internal fixation of the carpus muscle, we can do the proximal row carpectomy, we can do the wrist fusion, we can do OO, open reduction internal fixation, which is not usually done by this approach. We usually do open reduction internal fixation by the anterior approach, and so there are specifically we can do the radial excision or the for the benign or malignant tumors, we can do the resection of the distal end of the radius, or we can do the ulnar transposition also through this approach. So this was about the dorsal approach to the radius. So we can do all the procedures through the dorsal aspect of the wrist. So this was about this approach. For more such video, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.